This is generally the approach that I follow, with not only identifying opportunities for LLMs, likely in the bottom right-hand corner, definitely looking at those experts and helping them out. And when you've got those, break down and label the workflow, and then start identifying areas where you could apply the technology. You generally don't want to just pick any spot, though. You generally want to tackle parts of the workflow that could benefit from change. There are some parts of the workflow that need to stay the same because the system will reject change. And some parts of it where accelerating or improving will be readily accepted. So pick one where there's some good opportunity for change. And then once you've developed some trust and it's becoming clearer that these are really good things that people shouldn't be afraid of, you can actually lean in on another one.
Yeah. Do you mind going back to your sales example? That was a concrete example, something that I have spent a lot of time thinking about. It looked like you were proposing incorporating a lot of point solutions into the pipeline. In an ideal world, you want the same fabric, the same system to integrate all the above. You're going to gain a lot of efficiency because a lot of these steps are going to have to be grounded in the same type of information. But also from a technical point of view, that's a more robust system.
Great question. This is definitely a point solution style of an approach to incrementally change a workflow. It's also de-risking implementation feasibility because a lot of the customers for this have existing knowledge work processes that are kind of stuck, and to completely overhaul and reinvent them is a non-starter with an unproven technology. What you would get out of reinventing a sales process from scratch, you probably can only implement with a team that's never had one.
Let's say for the more crazy people among us, somebody wants to actually go after building the system level change, that solution that completely overhauls this process and brings in this multi-agent system. Let's be a little more near term, not necessarily a fully automated system. We're not trying to completely remove humans from this process, but we want to get our tentacles into all of these steps from the same core brain. How would you think about approaching a business, approaching stakeholders in the same company to even start a conversation about saying, by the way, I need to integrate into all of the things that you're talking about. Probably a lot of the human workers need to be reskilled.
Man, this is a great question. I think this is the $1 trillion question because it's such a pervasive problem. I'll give you an example from my personal experience working in healthcare. There's plenty of opportunities for point level process improvements. But at the end of the day, the systems puts the pressure on each individual component to regress to its status quo. When you're trying to sell into these companies, it's really important for you to understand like what are those sort of pressures. There's almost like an immune system that will reject your thing. I've seen this successful in a couple of ways. One is you understand their system so well that you can carve out a little bit of a safe space to implement. This usually takes a lot of support from an internal champion within. Without that, it's almost impossible. Even if they purchase it, it's not going to stay. Second is if you can identify a potential champion within that system that can create the safe space for you to deploy these things. Part of the problem if you're doing enterprise sales is that you're not actually selling to a customer. You're selling to a network of people that have their competing incentives. A lot of them are maybe concerned about their jobs. They're concerned about the next quarter's performance.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it? You ideally want somebody whose position is fairly back, like it's greenfield. Their current state is fairly behind, because if they have integrated a bunch of technology already in this process, it's hard to do a system level change. But if the process is like completely manual today, then they're ripe for doing it. But also at the same time, you want people who are in that state, but also have a lot of momentum. Because if they're in that state and don't have the momentum, you're pushing like a ginormous thing forward as a tiny company, right?